What's what, everybody? Back here with Uncle Sonny. How you doing today?
Not bad, my friend. We're doing good. You know, it's
Can't
nice to
complain,
be here.
right?
No, not at all. Not at
I'm
all.
gonna grab a little bit of coffee. You got some coffee in your
Got
cup?
some coffee.
What do we got? What do we got here today?
You got some
Giantonio.
French
Giantonio always
bread?
takes care of us. Giantonio.
Always coffee, man. Always coffee. Gotta
You
have
got
it.
this microphone. You could. Yeah. I still gotta get the hang of this.
Yep.
What is this? French press?
French press.
Oh, nice.
That's beautiful.
We're French today.
Welcome into all our friends out there. We're going to have a good show today. Some good stuff to talk about. Yeah, we're going to eat
I
again.
tell you, I'm still aching from these allergies, all this stuff out here. It's ridiculous.
Like I told you a little while ago, I had to take a pill today for the allergies because no way. I was coming here with the runny nose, the watery eyes, the sneezing. It was a sneeze morning, I'm called.
And you know something? It's not even like day to day. It's like within the day. Like I'll feel great 2 or 3 hours. After that,
it changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just takes its hold on you, man. There's so much stuff growing because it's been so warm, and I think stuff that's like happening so much quicker, that stuff is growing in this town. I'm telling you, I never suffered with allergies when I lived in New York. Moved here, now I have allergies, so I get it.
So what's what?
What's what? You know, we got some. We getting pizza today? I know the fans love all that stuff.
I don't know. I think.
What did we do for food today? Because I know everybody loves that.
So it got ordered. It's from Ray's Pizza, right down the road here.
See. So
Ray's Pizza, huh?
Ray's Pizza.
You just set me up for something.
Yeah,
Nah,
absolutely.
they're from New York.
Come on,
I
from
mean,
New York. I know some of the kids over at that particular Ray's. They're good kids. But I did come across an article, Frank, and I need to ask you what's what with this. It was in the New York Post, and it talked about the Ray's Pizzeria on Prince Street. Now, did you have an association with that crew? Because I know the club was right next door. He's laughing because I got him set. But anyway, the question is, what's what with that? And give us a little information about that Prince Street original Ray's, which was Ralphie's or Raffy's.
All right, so his name was Ralph Como.
Yep.
We used to call him Rafie.
Rafie.
And that's how he was known throughout the neighborhood and throughout the Lucchese family. Rafie was, I gotta say, he was a sweetheart, Rafie. The time I spent with him was, the guy really, he didn't have really a treacherous bone in his body. He did do a couple of things that really pissed me off that was pretty much a death sentence for another dear friend of mine. I'll get into that later at some other point. I hung around Rafie a lot, learned a lot from him. And Rafie was a good man.
He was part of the original Prince Street crew, right?
Yeah. The original Prince Street crew was really, I got to say, the main guys were the Di Palermo brothers. Right. And they used to call them the Becky brothers.
Becky, yeah.
So Beck. That's one of them. It's a picture,
Petey, right?
All the way to the far left. There he is.
There he is.
Yeah, Joe Beck. We had a Joe Beck. That was our Joe Beck. Meaning Lucchese Crime Family had a Joe Beck.
Right.
Then the Genovese family had a Joe Beck, but they called him Big Joe Beck because our Joe Beck was small. He was a short guy, shorter guy, smaller guy. I got to start with Joe Beck because Joe Beck was really the one that goes back the longest in history. I'll tell you how long he goes back. I'll tell you a funny story. We're in San Francisco. I take the family on a trip to, just walk around the city. I was looking at a couple businesses out there. I never forget, we stood at Fisherman's Wharf. It's like a touristy section. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Yeah.
You ever been there, Giantonio?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I have.
A lot of people know it. Everybody knows it. If you haven't been there, you heard about it. Right?
Big bowls of clam chowder there.
Yeah, you walk the street and they got all the fish and everything. It's really, really nice. Took the family there. And my sister wants to take the kids to Alcatraz. They had a touristy thing where you go on a boat. You go out to the island.
Yep.
And you go see the jail. So I'm saying in my mind, what the F I want to go visit the jail for, right? I've been in and out of jails most of my life, right?
Exactly.
I'm like, oh, well, why not for the kids, So we sign up, we get the tickets, we get everything. Now we go on the ferry boat, and we're going across to Alcatraz. It's nice. They make it, the tourists are like, oh, getting to see a prison, because a lot of people, they really don't get to see inside of a prison. As we're doing the tour, and they're taking us through the cells, and they're taking us through this and the yard and all that stuff, right? I'm just smirking, laughing to myself. Then they take us to the mess hall, and they show us pictures of the famous, the infamous convicts that have been in the place. And then what they do is they have a speaker. She'll get there and she'll start talking about each individual. Well, I look on the wall. There's a picture of Al Capone. There's a picture of Bumpy Johnson. And there's a picture of Joe Beck. I start laughing. Yeah. And my sister goes, "What are you laughing at?" I couldn't understand why I was laughing. It's surreal. Yeah. Because you're watching this and, and then what happened was the lady started doing her tour, started talking about stories about Capone, stories about Joe Beck and Bumpy Johnson. So anyways, it was surreal for me because I spent so much time around Joe Beck. There was a time where, I used to, I want to say bodyguard him because the guy, he was known throughout the neighborhood. Nobody was going to bother with him. I spent a lot of time with him. Took him, hung out with him at crap games, drove him around.
Obviously, you learned a lot from somebody like that.
Went with him to a lot of places. Anyway, short and long of the story, after we left Alcatraz, I'm saying to myself, you can't believe.
Like, how is this happening?
Yeah, you can't believe it. But, Joe Beck was probably did about 36 years total in jail. He had told me once that he had so much publicity. The same publicity that John Gotti got in our day, that was him back in the day. Like, they publicized him like Dillinger. Yeah. And I remember meeting his sister. His sister told me that the publicity was so bad. He was always on America's Most Wanted, front page of the paper, constant, And he was one of the guys that taught me that if I ever got locked up, what he used to do in solitary confinement.
Really?
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it.
It's good information.
You take the rust off when you talk about these things.
Yep.
So what he used to do was, and I tried it, it worked. And then later on, I found out from a psychologist, it was some kind of German or some kind of Russian technique. There's a name for it. It's backed up by science.
So it's a psychological part of it.
I mean, he didn't know that, but I had learned about it later that, there was a method to his madness. I mean, he did it organically, but really there was this science behind it later on if you look into the study of psychology. Right. Well, he said what he used to do was he would walk up to a wall, okay? So now, mind you, he's locked up, solitary confinement, you're just 24 hours a day. You don't have any human contact. You don't see out. You don't see in. Nothing changes, right? He would walk up to the wall, face up, and start talking as if he was having a conversation with somebody.
But he's having a conversation with the wall.
Yeah, sometimes he would yell. Sometimes he would scream, have a conversation. But you're pretty much going up against the wall.
Nose to nose, basically.
Well, maybe not nose to nose, but you're like right there.
Okay.
And you're just talking, He said that used to help him, just to remind him that he's still alive. And, sometimes he would do laying down in bed. He'd just start screaming or yelling out loud, just to, that you're alive. So when I was in solitary, I think the first bid that I did is 7 years total. Out of the 7 years, it's documented. I must have did about 3 years solitary confinement. Not straight.
Yeah, not consistent, just
no,
in and out.
10 months here, 6 months here, 3 months there, fights and this and that. When I was in solitary, I thought of Joe Beck. Mm-hmm. And I said, let me try this.
It's a release.
Not to be embarrassed about.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And I did it. And, the guards think you're going crazy if they see you talking to the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I would think, yeah.
I'm sure there's people who went crazier than that trying to kill themselves in the hole,
Well, the purpose of solitary is to keep you confined to yourself. So you got to have an outlet. That it's human nature to find an outlet. So if you're going to have an argument, what better place than with you and by yourself?
I tell you what, though, you forget when you're in solitary confinement, you lose track of the days, lose track of the time.
Makes sense.
you pretty much time yourself by your meals. So when the slot would open and I would get breakfast, I knew it was between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. Your door knocks again, the slot opens up, lunch, it's between 11 and 1. You don't know the exact time. You don't want to know the time because
it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter at all.
And then dinner time and so on. Now, a lot of times if you're a model inmate, you're not causing any problems, or you're not being too high maintenance or whatever.
Right.
The guards will, they'll give you a little extra perk. Like if you get out for an hour, they'll leave you out for an hour and 15 minutes. You're supposed to get one call a month. They might give you a call a week. If you're supposed to have a 10-minute call, they'll let you stay on for 20 minutes.
That's if you're following the rules and not causing any issues.
If you're busting their,
yeah, I get it.
If you're making it hard for them, they make it harder for you.